Good evening, everyone. You are watching Practically Writing with Sarah Berman. Today's episode, we are talking about author takeovers. Author takeovers are an event on social media in which the host invites authors to take over the event for a period of time, usually between 30 minutes and an hour. It's a really great way for authors to promote themselves at very little cost. There are a few things that you need to know about an author takeover before you get involved. First, the host sets the rules. This is completely non-negotiable. You have to think about it this way. If you were the one who was doing a book release and you invited authors to take over your event, and then they didn't follow your rules, you'd be a little miffed. So common courtesy says you follow the rules. Most authors set very few, if any, real rules, so it's not really something to worry about. The other thing you need to know is that once you have committed to doing an author takeover, you need to do everything in your power to do it. I've seen several events where multiple authors in a row have dropped the ball and not shown up for their takeovers, and it messes up the flow of the entire event. Visitors to these events specifically come to see a variety of authors, and when that gets interrupted, they go somewhere else. That undermines the entire purpose of these events. It's part of our brand to present ourselves in a certain way as our author selves, and there's a certain professionalism that needs to go along with that. Each of us needs to do our part to maintain the standards of these events, or they're going to stop happening. That would be tragic, if only because there are so few truly effective, free ways that an author can market, and this is one of them. One of the most common rules, and it's usually not even spelled out, is that you do not post in the event until it is your time slot. So it's very important to be clear as to when your time slot is. This can be difficult because a lot of the time the host is going to be in a different time zone than you are, and people spend hours and hours talking about how to figure out what it is in their time zone and what it is in this other time zone. The simplest way I've found is to get like a Google Calendar or something similar, and then you enter in the event and you put it in for the time and you change the time zone to the time zone that is listed on the event, so Pacific Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, whatever. And then the calendar will actually change that to your default time zone in your calendar. So when you go to look at it, it'll tell you what time it is for you, not what time it is for them. And I found that that works really well for keeping me on track for those things. The main reason you do not post at any other time than your time slot is as a matter of courtesy to the other participants and to the host. A lot of the times the host will actually have things going on in the days leading up to the event as well as at specific times during the event. It would be rude to sort of barge in and just start posting when you're not supposed to. It's a pretty good way to ensure you're not going to get invited back. And yes, a lot of people who host takeovers either do it through an organization or a group that hosts a lot of takeovers. So if you get in bad with one of those, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to have a difficult time finding takeover times. Also, if you post during another author's takeover, that's a really good way to piss off another author. And because we're such a tight-knit community, it's important to keep your author connections pleasant. We all share information, we all share marketing opportunities. It's a really invaluable resource to, just throw away for an extra post. I have some personal rules that I follow simply because I think it makes me a more cooperative participant in these events. One of them is I try to skew my posts towards the genre that the event is about. If the event is a book release for a horror, I'm going to post my darker stuff. If it's for romance, I'm going to post my romance and erotica stuff. If the event is celebrating young adult, I'm going to steer away from the cuss words. I think having a certain situational awareness in regards to these events is important to make sure that people are getting the experience that they asked for. Now, there are different ways that you can approach posting in your takeover time slot. A lot of people have a selection of images and graphics that they like to post, including some game type stuff like use the first letter of your first name to find out what your vampire name is, or, something like that. You can create them, you can pull them from somewhere else. One of the big things is that if you get it from another author, you should ask permission, because a lot of them get a little pissy if they've put in, 2 hours of making a really awesome graphic and you just jack it. They use a lot of memes, they use a lot of personalized graphics, links are very popular. A lot of times they do Q&A sessions, things like that. I personally actually have a spreadsheet in which I have a whole list of links and graphics and things like that with the wording that I prefer to use on each of them. That way I can just go through and make posts very quickly. I can just go in and modify them a little bit for each event, and it's that easy. Because of this, I can post at least once a minute. Most people prefer to post more like once every 5 minutes. I have noticed that if you do a lot of takeovers and you post really quickly, back to back, Facebook doesn't like it and can block you from commenting or posting for a while. So make sure you space them out a little bit. I like 1 to 2 minutes at the minimum. If you're doing a 30-minute takeover, that's still a good 15 posts that you can get in, and that's pretty awesome. The spreadsheet allows me to have all of my links easily available so I don't forget any. I don't always post all of my links. I kind of pick and choose based on how people are reacting to different things. So it stays pretty organic, even though I do have a spreadsheet for my posts. Is that anal? Now that we've talked about the whats and the wheres and the hows, let's talk about the whys. Why would we spend the time to do these takeovers? Why would we dedicate so much effort to this one type of marketing? And the answer is reach. With social marketing, reach is the sacred cow, the golden idol, the thing that you want. Otherwise, you're just talking to the same 5 people over and over, and they probably already bought the book if they're gonna. When we do a takeover, when we participate in a takeover event, what we're doing is we're combining the audiences of each of the authors involved in the takeover. When I participate in a takeover, I share it with my friends and with my followers, and a lot of them come and check it out. Those people may only be there because they know I'm going to do some sort of giveaway, but while they're waiting for my next post, they're scrolling down to the posts of the authors who have done the takeovers before me. That means that they are learning about new authors, and those authors are getting a greater reach for their own promotions. Then the authors that come after you do the same thing. Their audience comes in and scrolls down and looks at your posts. And it goes the other way, too. People who have really enjoyed a takeover, particularly if they've also enjoyed the posts of other authors, will frequently come back to that takeover event several times throughout the day, or days. We all bring in a portion of an audience that then gets exposure to brand new authors and books, and we get to promote our stuff to brand new people. And that is completely invaluable, and it's completely free. To get the kind of reach that some takeovers offer, you would have to pay a couple $100s to a marketing firm or a blog tour. Now, obviously, it's a bit of a crapshoot as to whether or not a takeover is going to be truly successful. and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. I've seen takeovers with extremely popular authors being featured, and they were dead the entire time. Maybe it was because it was Super Bowl Sunday. I've also seen takeovers that had a selection of moderately known authors, and people were just in and out of that event all day, interacting with the authors. It was wonderful. You get new followers, you get new page likes, you get people signing up for newsletters, and if you do it right, you've got a lot of people who suddenly go, "Hey, I've never heard of you. You sound awesome." And the great thing about takeovers is there's usually about 5 or 6 each week, so you're never at a loss for finding them. The negative part is a lot of them, the time slots go really fast. What you want to do is start networking with the people who host these takeovers. If there's a specific group that seems to be doing a lot of takeovers, join the group. If there's a page that hosts a lot of takeovers, follow the page. It's a really wonderful bonus to all of the networking that you've probably already done with other authors on social media. You thought you were just getting writing advice? Turns out they have marketing connections too. I think that pretty well covers author takeovers. My personal preference is to do takeovers on Facebook. They have a really great platform for doing events. It's really easy to leverage the networking from the writing groups into author takeovers. As usual, I've got links in the section below where you can find me and all of my stuff. I do have a webpage that has an events calendar. I try to keep that updated with all of my author takeovers. I also post them on my author page on Facebook, Author Sarah B. Don't forget to follow, like, thumbs up, all the good stuff. Show your love. It's the only way we know you care. And we'll see you next time. We love to give people what they ask for. Professionalism. I'm a professional. I'm a professional, I swear.